Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome along to the wilds of Suffolk. I'm out here yet again doing what I do, walking along in beautiful locations on a beautiful day, I might add, and giving you my thoughts and opinions on things that are happening in the world, in the public consciousness. If it's your first time here, welcome. I hope you enjoy what I'm doing today. If you're a returning subscriber, or 983, I think there is today, 17 left. 17 left till I get to the 1,000. I have something planned for when I get to 1,000 subscribers. I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to pre-limit and I don't want people to subscribe just because there's something coming. Subscribe if you like it. It's as simple as that. So welcome along. Now, today we're going to be discussing a subject that I've talked about, touched on a lot in my videos over the course of the last year and a half that I've been doing these. I'm going to try and focus a little bit more attention on it today. I'm going to touch on a few other subjects that I'm going to be doing full videos about in the coming weeks and months. And yeah, let's have a bit of a discussion about how things are and the reality that we experience as reality, and how real is it. So, nothing like challenging a big subject on a beautiful day like today. So welcome, and let's get into it. Now, my whole life, I went to school at one point back when I was very young, but my whole life we've had this idea, this concept, this theory, this working theory, that evolution was how we got here. Evolution. We evolved from single-celled amoeba into the complex beings that you see walking along with a selfie stick in the field out in the woods in Suffolk. So, and we've been told that we know this because we've found fossil records, and we can just tell. That's the working model that we have, that we're working with. Okay, we're going to start there. Evolutionary theory. So, much like everything else, we're told that this is truth and it can't be questioned. Okay, now the issue I take with this, along with a lot of science, is that whilst that's a working theory and it works for what is observable, the problem that I have is that all the observable things aren't being taken into account when we come up with this theory. Okay? Let me explain that a little bit further. So, I don't know whether you've seen or read or seen pictures of or videos of giant skeletons that have been dug out around the world, like 20 feet high, these skeletons. Massive creatures, people, bipedal humans for all want of a better purpose, want of a better word, 20 foot high skeletons, not one or two, all over the world. And those skeletons have been collected by people doing archaeological research, and then invariably they come and get collected by the Smithsonian and taken away and hidden away to never be seen again. That's never been accurately factored into this idea of evolution. After all, at what point in our evolution do we have 20 foot tall human beings? Anyone? Maybe I missed that part of science class. Maybe that was one of those days where I just wasn't at school. There's also many reports. I've been watching some different stuff that I've posted on my Telegram channel, if you're over there watching that, where we had little people. I've watched some episodes with Jay Widener, where he interviewed a lady where she was talking about that the Native American people, the Cherokee Indians and some other Indian tribes around in the US, we're talking about 2 foot tall high humans, not dwarves or midgets or little people as we describe them today, because we're using the right nomenclature is the most important thing we can do is get the nomenclature right, because if you don't, then you're a bad person. Okay, that's where we are in our society. We can perpetuate lies like COVID. We can perpetuate lies, but we can't use the wrong nomenclature when we're describing someone. Okay? Now, that yes, there was a long time ago that this lady was in particular was interviewing Cherokee people, and was discussing legends, and she was interviewing elderly Cherokee Indians in the US, and they were talking about little people 2 feet high, 2 feet tall, that lived in the mountains in that area. And lots of them, not just one or two, you know, lots, like whole colonies of little people 2 foot tall, perfectly proportioned, just small versions of people, still alive today. I didn't see them in the fossil record. That maybe that was one of those offshoots that we haven't heard about. So my point is that I'm going to finish with on this particular point is that if you have a whole data set of information that's being excluded from that theory, then the theory's rubbish. Fair? Not fair? You tell me. You got a whole section of data set that's not being included to quantify the data. just leave that out because it doesn't fit the narrative that we evolved from single-celled amoeba over millions of years. Okay. Okay. Now, when we discuss history, we've discussed history a lot. And I've also discussed the parallels of history and the timelines that we've been told don't match up to the reality that we see. Now, there was an English professor, I can't remember what his name is, I'm sorry. It's a professor here in an English university, who said if you want to figure out whether you're living in a simulation, which I believe we are, then look at history, because whoever's coding, whatever, doesn't really matter, is coding this reality, this simulation, if that's what you want to call it, or a reality, whatever name you feel comfortable with, whatever's coding it, wouldn't spend too much time on the past, would focus mainly on the present. Fair call? So when we do look at the past, this is the reason I do look at these kind of things, look back in history, look at the past and think things don't make any sense. Now, obviously, I've taken a lot of information, listened to a lot of different people speak. Jay Widener, if you haven't listened to Jay Widener over at the Reality Check, it's another YouTube channel. It's wonderful. I'll leave the link down below. It's really good. He focuses a lot of attention on this as well. The difference between what Jay does and what a lot of other people don't do, Jay actually goes to these sites. He's been to Peru, he's been to South America a lot. He's traveled around extensively through Europe as well. And he goes to these sites and gets the information, like from the Cross of Henday. He wrote a book about it. If you don't know what that is, go and look it up. Now, when I talk about history, and I've spoken about this before as well, if you have a look back at history, that wars, in particular wars, where normally gets bombed during wars. Okay? Now, what I'm referring to is in the First and Second World War, what do we see bombed? Historical sites. Right? And other things that weren't bombed, like, the Germans were in North Africa, and what were they searching for in all these places? Now, there's a lot that's been written about what the Nazis were searching for. They were doing lots of experimentation with esoteric kind of knowledge, looking for ancient artifacts. Okay? Ancient artifacts all around the world. So they've been, obviously, to the Middle East. In the First and Second World War, the Nazis were over in Africa. Yeah? The Gulf War. Afghanistan. What's in Afghanistan? What's in Afghanistan? Lots of history in Afghanistan and cave systems. And we were told that the Taliban and Osama bin Laden were operating out of a tunnel system, a cave system, in Afghanistan. Okay? Now, stay with me on this. As we've gone through history, wars, all over the world have destroyed historical sites, including the invasion of Iraq. What did they do? The American soldiers, we were told they were American soldiers, were going into these museums and taking ancient artifacts and destroying them Now, why would you want to destroy history? Now, I live in the UK now. I've lived over here for 20-something years. The city, central London. Central London, obviously, London's a very old city, you know. Central London, they're knocking down old buildings, ancient buildings, and putting up new structures. Now, why would you want to do that? Surely you'd want to hold on to your heritage, your past, your history, right? You'd think. Now, when I talk about the destruction of history and records and things like that, how is it that you have the royal family, for instance? How do they get to be the royal family? How do they get to rule? Because they can prove their lineage back, 1,000 years. But if no one else holds the history, then who can prove their lineage? Who can prove anything? Interesting? No? History is our link to our tradition, our culture, who we are, what made us. Yeah? Now that history and that traditions and native traditions, if you like if I go to North Africa for a holiday, if I go to Egypt, or if I go to Morocco or something like that, I go there because of the history, the traditions, and the culture that I want to involve myself in. If I want to partake in, things that happen only in those countries, those traditions and those cultures hold on to that history, and that's passed down from them to their children. Now, this intermingling of people moving all around the world, I've moved across the opposite side of the world. I've come from Australia to England. Now, I've had to integrate myself into the whole English culture because it's a completely different culture than the Australian culture. We have a different mindset, we have a different way of doing things. But I had to integrate into the British culture. Now, the British culture is still strong. Of course it is. And we have people who come from different parts of the world that bring their culture with them. But, and I'll say it's a big but, and I like big buts, but that cultural identity is slowly being lost because people don't want to identify with it, with traditions and cultures of places that they live now. They want to bring their own to where they are. Okay? Which can be good and it can be bad, because if you're losing the heritage and culture of the country you grew up in, and your culture that is your particular culture, maybe you're from Trinidad, maybe you're from India, maybe you're from China, wherever you're from, you have your own culture where you're from. And we shouldn't lose that. As much as we move around and we go and see different things, our culture and our traditions have to remain intact, much like China does and Japan. They hold on to their traditions and culture whilst also moving forward. But history is being destroyed because it makes us lose that link to our history and our culture and our identity of who we are. Now, who would do that? Who would want to make you lose your history, lose your culture, lose your identity, your cultural identity? Who would want to do that? Who would want to make you all the same? Who would want to make you part of the Borg? Resistance is futile. There is a group of people that call themselves transhumanists who believe that our future is synthetic, that we will no longer inhabit a human body that was created for us, didn't evolve the way that we're told it did. Maybe there are evolutionary traits, maybe there are some points in evolution to us changing and evolving and adapting over time. Yeah, maybe, yeah, sure. To evolve from a single-celled amoeba? No. Even science admits that there are missing links in our evolutionary process. Now, where do these missing links come from? Well, we just haven't found the fossil records, we're told. Maybe that fossil record is that 20-foot-high skeleton that we're not allowed to look at. Maybe, maybe not. Or perhaps there were some other influences from other places that have changed our process, that altered us along the way. Perhaps, maybe, maybe not. But these transhumanists believe that we should be synthetic, that we should inhabit synthetic bodies rather than our bodies that we inhabit right now to take you away from your creative energy, your creative source. Now, I don't know whether you've ever seen it. There's a show on the TV called Upload. They've just released a second season on Amazon, I think. And it's all about transferring your consciousness into computers. And you need to see the subtlety of the way that these messages are delivered to us, consuming public. These subtle messages through film, through songs, through all the influences that we have. It's a soft influence to get us used to the idea of maybe uploading your consciousness. Now, we are at a point in our society where many people that study theology, the Bible, holy books, or whatever words you want to use for that, have noticed a striking similarity to what's happening right now and end times as they're written in the Bible. And whoop, the birds just sprung out of nowhere. And the end times talked about in the Bible, in Revelations, I think it was, where we were told that the only way you would be able to buy or sell is through a mark in your right hand or in your forehead, and that mark is 666, the mark of the beast. And we hear more and more about, we just have a chip implanted in your hand, and we open the door for you, and you can use it as you can put your digital money on that chip that goes in your hand, and you won't have to worry about money or carrying a wallet or a purse. It's wonderful. So whilst many in the world discount these kind of books, these kind of stories, ancient tablets, Sumerian texts, ancient Sumerian texts, the Emerald Tablet, for instance, while many are keen to discount that kind of thing and to say, it's all religion, or, these stories, these artifacts, these ancient history, these relics left behind for us to tell us the story of future events have been taken away. And holy books have been altered along the way, like the Bible was originally completely different than what it is now. If you have any, if you read anything about the characters in the Bible, Jesus was supposed to have 12 disciples. How many books in the Bible are written by his disciples? 4. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. What about the other 8? Where are they? Greek maths. I'm pretty sure it's 8. Where are they? Where are the other 8 books of the other disciples? Now, we've heard of the Nag Hammadi, or the Dead Sea Scrolls, that was purported to have a book of the Bible written by Jesus, which makes sense. If he's going to go around preaching, surely he would write a book, right? But it wasn't included in the Bible. Why would that be? There's also reports that in this book written by Jesus in the Bible, that it said you don't have to go to the house of God to worship, a house of God to worship. You can worship in the world that was created for you. Does that not make sense? But what we've come to understand from organized religion in the past, they said the only way to God is through us. So they're the middlemen. So this idea of ancient writings and books and stories and parables and all this ancient knowledge that we had is being destroyed or messed with. I think it was a conclave, Pope Constantine, and they decided back in 1500 and something, I think, they decided what books were going to be in the Bible, another control mechanism. So if history is being deliberately destroyed, who would do that, and why would they do that? Now, there's some interesting interviews I've been watching with Joshua over at Red Pill Project. If you haven't seen Red Pill Project, go and have a look. Great guys over there, redpills.tv. Josh does some great interviews with people and brings up some amazing information. He's a very, very deep thinker on the occult and that kind of symbology. He knows his stuff backwards and forwards. So Very, very interesting videos over there. If you're keen to learn more about it, then I would suggest go and have a look. But these ancient artifacts, these messages, these books, this law that's been passed down through history is being destroyed. Now, before it's being destroyed, you'd think that somebody would want to collect that knowledge, wouldn't you? Yeah? But has somebody collected it already? Now, back in 1100s, long time ago, but I still don't remember, because all that messaging has been lost, because our history is being erased, and it's even more so now. I'll go on a little tangent now. The history is being erased as we speak right now. You don't know what the truth is at present. You know, were you being told the truth one day and then 2 weeks later, what happens? That truth is not true anymore. The science changed. Okay? So if you don't even know what the truth is now, how can you possibly know what happened in history? And Google and Facebook or Meta, whatever you want to call it, these tech companies, they decide on what the truth is, because fact check, remember? Fact checkers, they are now the truth tellers. They decide what the truth is. Right, so you don't know what the truth is at present. We can't know history, and we've got the guardians of the truth being tech platforms that are telling you or blocking anything that goes against their version of truth. Okay? Now, back, like I say, in history, 1100 and something, I think when the Pope and the King sent out their people, the Knights Templar and the those kind of crew, to go and search out this ancient knowledge. They were looking for the Holy Grail. The Holy Grail. You know. Now, what is the Holy Grail? There's many theories about what the Holy Grail is, but from my understanding, it is information. It's knowledge. It's ancient knowledge that's been passed down. Now, all this artifacts and ancient knowledge was taken back to the Vatican. The Vatican, as I've said many times, is the brains of the world. They run everything. They run the operations. Washington is the military. London is the money. 3 city-states. City of London is a separate city from London. It's its own city-state, has its own police force. Okay? The City of London is a separate city-state from London itself. Vatican City in Rome, separate city-state, has its own police force, its own security, everything, its own publishing house, its own radio, everything, right? And then we have Washington. Washington is another city-state. It is a law unto itself, has its own police, the whole shebang. 3 city-states in the world. Washington runs the military, London does the money, and Vatican is the brains. They run all the operations. So how can they be the brains? Because they have the knowledge. Where did the knowledge come from? All that ancient knowledge that was gathered by groups like the Templars and those kind of people that were sent out looking for the Holy Grail, the knowledge. Because without power, without knowledge, this is how you come to me. Like the Merovingian in the Matrix. The Merovingian, remember the Frenchman? The French royal family were the Merovingian at the time of Jesus' death. Everything is all around us. The clues are all around us, and messaging is being given to us. But who holds the knowledge? The Vatican. So what's happening now is, what are they holding the knowledge of? Now, I've heard it from many different sources, and like I say, when I hear something from multiple different places, I have to take notice. So Jay Widener was doing an interview where he's talked about cataclysms that face the earth, and how often they come around, and these things like the Cross of Henday and some other artifacts that were left in the world point to the fact that periodically there are cycles of plasma storms, as they call it, that struck the earth and wiped out a great proportion of humanity. But there were people, entities, beings, interdimensional beings perhaps, that were the rulers, who had that ancient knowledge, who escaped into underground tunnels, and rode out the storm, and then emerged and passed on that knowledge to their children and their children's children. Now, The theory is that we are due another one of these moments in our cataclysmic moments in our history. It's due now, and there's people who are trying to escape it but are not able to. Something is also happening in Antarctica. I've talked about Antarctica briefly. I'll be doing a full video about Antarctica at some point in the near future. Something is going on in Antarctica. That also links to something called Tartaria, which I'll also be doing a video on in the near future. Very, very big subjects, but something is definitely going on in Antarctica. Watch this space, okay? And also watch this space for Tartaria. Both very, very interesting subjects, both to do with history. History. Repositories for ancient knowledge. Atlantis, Tartaria, Atlantis, and Antarctica. Tartaria, Atlantis, and Antarctica. Okay, those three. Those 3 episodes are going to come up in the near future, but they're all interlinked, and they're all to do with historical knowledge and the receptacles or repositories for ancient knowledge. So, it's exciting. So, while you look around you at the world, it's all in chaos, it's crazy, it's deliberate. Get out into the world in beautiful locations like this and just recharge your batteries. Walk around with your shoes off. Connect with the world. Ground yourself. There's energy all around you. You just have to know how to take advantage of it. And when you get out into places like this, and you can experience real beauty of this world that's created, it didn't just pop into existence one day from nowhere. And whatever method by which you see that creation, fine. We are living in a created world. And whatever mechanism you like to believe that happened by, I know a lot of people don't like to use the word God or, those kind of things because it goes against their idea of the world, because we've been, the whole idea of religion has been made into a bad thing by paedophile priests and what have you. But the idea and the core message of these kind of the original message of this word that has passed down through history is love and acceptance. Love and acceptance. And all the other I can't get the words out today. All the other breakdowns that the church and the Bible has been made into are all man-made. Love and acceptance. That's what the message is. So, enough for today. We've talked history. History is very circumspect. It is open to interpretation. If you don't know if you don't know everything, then you can't make an accurate theory about the reality of history or the reality that we're currently living in. But somebody holds that. Maybe we'll find out soon. So get out into the world. Look at this place. It's amazing. Get out into the world and experience it. Charge yourself up and pass that on. Pay it forward. Because as you move through the world and you interact with people, you can change the world with your thoughts, your actions, the way you speak and the way you interact with people. So go out and do that. Do good, be good. Now look after yourself, look after each other. Love you all. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate your time. And go out and do some wonderful things in the world, because that's how we're going to change it. All right, take care of yourself, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Ciao for now.